Good afternoon, everyone. So first, happy that few people stayed in this room. Thank you for that. I hope we'll say and we'll have an interesting interaction. So just as an introduction, I'm Laurent. I'm a CEO and founder of Nanobiotics. I've been trained as a physicist. And what I love to do in life is disrupt things because I don't like the status quo. I don't like to stay on my feet, and I am a big dreamer, and that's what we try to do with our company. So before I disclose anything, let me tell you that what I'm going to say is what I think and does not reflect necessarily what is the opinion of Nanobiotics, the company I'm leading. So what we do as Nano is trying to bring new things to patients, and primarily bringing nanophysics instead of using biology or chemistry for the patient. Not because we think it's better, because we think no one is doing it, so someone has to do it. And so what we provide are nanoparticles that we bring somewhere in the body where you need to have a treatment, and those particles will provide a physical effect that help the patient. So we are developing 3 different technology platforms, one in oncology, one which is more broader in different type of treatment, and the last one in CNS disorder. So we've been through a long journey, 20 years. And through that, we've learned a lot. We've been developing our company. We've been starting to be listed on Euronext, then NASDAQ. We recently licensed to J&J for 2.5 billion, the first platform we are developing. And we are not going to stop here because we have a lot more to provide. But the thing I like, because I felt that when I started this company, I would have loved people to tell me what to do, but mainly what not to do, because that's what we have been learning, trying and error. And so I'll be happy to share some of those. And for me, one thing that really struck me during the development is how hard it is for us as humans to say stop to something we have started. And that was one of the first big learning I had, is when we have had this product under development, the one we've been funding the company with, the one we've been raising the first money for, and we were ready to go to all regulatory development with this product. And one morning I thought, oh, we should just kill it and do something else. But it was for good reason, and I'm going to tell you why. But it was a hard decision. Imagine going to the board and say, hey guys, you have been spending 4 years of money. We've been working with you for 4 years, but we're going to do something different. So it took me 1 year from this board to the official decision to move forward. Obviously, we've moved forward before, but we needed to go through. So what happened here? Just to tell you, we started with this nanophysics thing. So the first product we've been developing is magnetic nanoparticles that, when reaching the tumor, if you put it under the influence of an MRI, then those magnetic particles will orient into the cell and will kind of stuck the cell in some specific state. And if you do that for more than 20 minutes, then the cells start dying or start sending messages for suicide. So it was working really well. We had very great data. We had a lead ready to go for manufacturing, for CMC, for preclinical regulatory, and so on. But in the meantime, we had the first in vitro data of the platform we are developing today, the one we've been licensing to J&J. And I sat down with the board and saying, listen, the first platform using MRI is working. Obviously, we have a lot of good data, and it's physics. So what we see in mice should also work in human, because physics will stay the same. But there is a fundamental issue here. Not issue, let's say difficulty. Is if you want to use an MRI, which is a diagnostic tool today, already over busy with all the diagnoses that you have to provide to patients, and to use that as a therapeutic tool, then you will have to create a new medical practice. You will have to find the doctor that will use an MRI to make a therapy. You'll have to train them. You'll have to rebuild or invent a new medical practice, which is not impossible, but very complicated. And the other technology we were developing was another type of nanoparticle, but combined with X-ray, with radiation therapy. And here we already know that radiation therapy is widely used in oncology. More than 60% of all cancer patients are getting that. So it was fitting in the existing practice. It's like you have an espresso machine everywhere, but it just do hot water with it, and then you bring the Nespresso capsule. So that was the idea by bringing this product. And because we thought there is a strong limitation of radiation for the patient, and this product could solve that. So it was a difficult decision to say stop to something that's working, where we've been investing in, that was ready for next step, and to go back 4 years before to re-spend money and to lose money, years, and development time for that. But I think today everyone is happy that we've been taking this decision, but it's not have been easy. So I'm just gonna make a stop here before my next chapter, let's say, and open the floor for a few questions because we continue this journey together.
Did they react like you, Nanobiotics made the right decision by stopping this MRI product, or they were kind of disappointed that you were not trying to push things forward?
Yeah, the question was about what about the ecosystem, patients or MDs or clinical centers we were working with when we shifted that. Fortunately, we did not have yet clinical trial, so that's much more complex. When you start offering something potentially to patient, stopping is very hard and not ethical also. But still, we have had a number of partners, academic partners, some hospital making preclinical with us, and some other partners, so it was not that easy. They may not have understood at the beginning, but at the end, they thought that, yes, that was the right move. And some of them did continue to work with us on the next technology, the one we've been developing so far. But it's never easy. But at the end of the day, we have to keep the big picture in mind for the company and what we are doing. And sometimes there are some necessary sacrifice to make sure that at the end of the day, we can bring product to patients.
Laurent?
Well, don't destroy the material, Bertrand.
Not yet. Did you try, instead of killing the product, to sell it to another company?
Well, then that's a good question, but that's my personal ethical thinking, that if I think it's not going to work, I don't want anyone to use it. It's not because it cannot be useful, but the hurdle we have seen would have been seen by others also. So we don't want to sell problem to other companies and people. I know. I think there's a question.
What was the impact in terms of staff? Did you have to cut costs and make redundancies regarding this decision?
No. I mean, it was at the stage of the company where we were, I think, like 20 or 30 people, so a small agile team. And we have had this big discussion with the whole team about it. And we all decided, okay, let's go for the new one. That's better. So everyone shifted from one program to the other and started working on the new product. So we did not fire anyone, but we had to hire more. Well, it's always a good question because from time to time, medical practice evolved, or technology evolved, or what was not feasible 10 years or 15 years ago may be feasible today. But because of the concern we had at the time, which is transforming an existing medical practice, which is diagnosis to therapeutic, this did not change. So the hurdle yesterday still exists today. So I don't think this product could have a great future. Okay, so now can go maybe to another. Is there a question? Sorry. The other thing I had trouble to see is what we do internally is so obvious for us because we are swimming in it since such a long time. And there's so many things that are obvious, like why do we use nanophysics or how our product works, how good it is for the patient, and also how we have in our small brain just accumulated so much experience and data around this product that we can connect the dots. So I had trouble at some point to understand why people don't see what we see, and why they don't see the data, the good data we have generated, why they don't understand that our product could work in any type of tumor, and we could not get a partnership and everything. So that was a long struggle. Still, we were moving the company along, and we had very great data. We get a lot of investors on board, and got to phase 3. The first one was positive. We have a second one ongoing, and so on. But still, we had problem to convince the external world about it. So we thought it's because it's new. So I think it's true. When you have something new, it's very hard to convince people, because you need more proof than if you have a monoclonal antibody where everyone knows how to manufacture it, how does this work, and what to do with. And our product obviously is very different. And by the way, I did not describe what it is, so maybe I'm going to take a pause here and tell you what it is, and then come back to this question on why people did not see what we were seeing. So the first-in-class we are developing is a product that we combine with radiation therapy, which is treating the vast majority of cancer patients. And the way radiation works is you have a tumor somewhere in the body surrounding by a cell tissue, you send X-ray through that, and the X-ray is going to make damage both in surrounding tissue and the tumor and surrounding tissue. So the way radiation therapy manage that is, rather than just putting all the X-ray going through the same direction, they start making different entry points with the X-rays. So you disperse the dose in surrounding tissue, the LC tissue, and you maximize the dose in the tumor. But you still have an intrinsic limitation here, which is you will always cross LC tissue. So there is always a dose that limit the use of radiation. And a good way to see it is the standard dose radiation given in different cancer treatment is not determined by the dose you want to give to kill the tumor, but by the dose the surrounding LC tissue can handle. So it really shows that we have reached the limit of radiation, and that stays true regardless of the innovation that is brought to radiation therapy, plus minus some detail. But the question here was, how can we solve this problem? So what we do at Nano is looking at the problem from a different angle to answer the question. So it's not about how do we improve radiation, it's how do we improve the dose in the tumor without improving it in the surrounding tissue. And we have been developing crystalline inorganic nanoparticles that we inject directly into the tumor. And those particles, they have a very specific design in size, but also as a composition. We use hafnium oxide, HFO2. Why? Because that's a super stable material, which makes it good in terms of safety for the patient, but also a super X-ray absorber because of the density of electron of this material. So you inject that, the particles are going to the cell, the patient is getting the normal radiation, and when those particles are in the cell, they will absorb much more radiation and will deliver strong damage around them. And then you increase the efficacy of radiation without changing anything else in the medical practice. So we've been testing that in hundreds of patients, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, esophageal cancer, rectum, and many others. So we have a strong and large program that now we are developing with J&J, and they will commercialize this product across the world. But how did we get to this collaboration? There's two things, one which is stupid, the other one which is very important, I think. The one that is stupid but important is, as a small company, it's very hard to fit with a group that does not have the same culture or value that you have. And I figured out that over time, we've said no to a number of collaboration just because we thought that we will not fit in terms of values with the pharma companies we were discussing with. Not that they were bad, that's not my point. Just that they were too different from what we aspire to be as human or as people or as a company. But this one was an easy fix. We just had to look for the good one. The other one is a bit more subtle, is what is obvious for us as a person, as a company, is not always obvious for others. Especially when you have companies that have been developed, for example, biologics for decades. So they have been building all their strategy, processes, thinking, research, development based on everything they know and they learn about monoclonal antibody, let's say. So they have shaped the entire industry, their entire mind about that. So when you come with something which is really disruptive, there's no way they're going to filter that the right way you do with their own eyes, which are looking at the biology, for example, in our case. So for that, to get there, we had to deconstruct our understanding of them and how do we think they see the world before getting to them with the right argument to help them to see what we see. But it has been a long path and a long pathway. And at the end of the day, all this has been based also on the first point I was mentioning, which is about value and how do we get into relationship with the future potential partner. So I'm going to stop here and again take some questions if you have any on that matter.
So it sounds easy to try to be in other people's shoes, but how actually do you do it, right? Because you don't have the same state of mind at all. So do you do survey? I mean, how do you manage that?
Wow, that's not an easy one. Huh? I don't think it's ever easy to put ourselves in other people's shoes, and technically almost impossible because we can't be a twin of the person or the company. So I think the way we did it, first of all, is to listen. It may seem stupid, but if you really listen to understand where the people are, what are their constraints, what they see about your product or your company or your technology, then eventually you can really answer their question. And what I have noticed is most of the time when someone is asking a question, it's not the question they're asking. There is something behind. Or they're always asking the question with a context in mind. And when you do that, what you will read as a question, you will do it with your own context. So you have a 90% chance to miss the big part of the question. So what we did learn over time is we almost never answer the question the first time. We always dig to understand what is the question or what is the question behind the question. And it may seem stupid, but that did help a lot to really understand where the people are, what they see in our technology that we don't see, or the opposite. And we built with this. Can I ask a question? Who's trying to get partners in the room? Any type of partners, like could be academic, industrial, investors. So you're the only one working in a startup? So you're not looking for partners in what you do in your job? And Caroline, I know you're looking for partners, right? Because I think what I said is true, or at least we have experienced the same, regardless of the type of partnership we were trying to establish. So that's going up the time, right?
Okay.
No, just wondering if it's going up, but yes.
Oh, yeah, it's going up.
Okay,
yes,
good,
yes.
good. So if there is no other question in that, I think there's another one that I find really complex but fun, is raising money. Because I started getting out of my postdoc plus 2 years of industry when I founded this company. So I can tell you I did not know anything about capital structure, raising money, investors, even the industry. At the end, 2 years, you know nothing. So I had to learn the hard way, making a lot of mistakes. And that was an interesting pathway from being private company, raising money from VCs to go to public market, Euronext and NASDAQ. It was very interesting. And one thing I've learned from the first round of financing we did is people were saying, oh, that's the way it's done. That's the rule. But I can tell you there's no rule. You can, not that you can do anything, there's some practice that it is hard to change, but there's no predefined rules on valuation, on how you're going to structure the deal you want to make with VCs or public investors. So you can be creative. And I like to never make compromise when we do things, because I think when you do compromise, you lose. Both parties are losing. So I'm fighting up to the end every time I negotiate, whatever is the negotiation, to get to both parties being happy about the solution. But the day you start making a compromise, you're losing that. So that's the first thing. I say no rules. Two, it's all about human and all about making sure that you can create a relationship with the investors, whether they're public, private. So I never raised any euro without establishing trust with an investors, ever, during the past 20 years. That always has been the ultimate trigger, that, okay, the project is interesting, they believe in the technology, but they trust us. They trust us to be the right people to do it, and they trust us that they would have a good interaction with us. So that's the second one. And the interesting way I found to being private to do that, but at the end public too, is to go to see them when you don't need money, to start learning and knowing those investors, and to tell them what you're going to do. And you come back after, you show them that you have done what you tell them, and then you entertain a relationship, and then that's how we've been doing to build trust. Sorry, I got COVID a few weeks ago. Still the remaining, I'm not contagious, don't worry. So that's the other one. And often when I help a young entrepreneur, they tell me, how do I raise money? And I say, I don't know. I mean, we just have to go to see people, show them that you're going to run your project, that you believe in it, and that you have the right competencies to do it. And over time, it happened. It took us, I think, 2 years to raise the first 700K for the company. 2 to 3 years, I would say. And when we did the IPO on Euronext, it took us like a week to raise like 20 million or so. So depending on which stage you are and so on, then you'll see it's more or less harder to raise money. Total, I think we have raised 350 million or something like this over the last years of the company. So it's a lot of money, but it's so tough. It took me, let's say, a third of my time entirely during those 20 years spending to raise money and interact with investors and making sure that we entertain them to prepare the next round and to create this ongoing trust to bring them in the story. So that was an interesting pathway. And also, especially during the first rounds of financing, at least that has been, again, our experience. Rational is one thing. Then you look at the business plan, you look at the technologies, you have due diligence and all this. But I can tell you what triggered the 2 first raises we've made was the fear of one of the investors to lose the deal because another one was interested. So yes, it's like kindergarten, I can tell you, but that's how it works, and that's okay. We just have to adapt and to go with the flow. So I'm going to make a stop and take a few questions here again, if anyone is interested about what I said. Is it finished?
It's a great opportunity to ask more questions, so please feel free. Otherwise, would they be able to find you outside later?
Sure.
Possibly.
I'm not going to stay here.
You can do. Okay, so I think that's been an amazing list of life lessons. Are there any final tips that you would perhaps give to some budding startup founders?
Yeah, I mean, guys, be happy and go for it and go for your dream. I mean, there's no one else that will do it. So dream big and just go for it. And if you need help, I can try to help you.
And I have a last question. What is the next step for Nanobiotics?
Well, I mean, we have 2 other platforms to develop, and they are, we think, even bigger than the first one because our idea is to really tackle most of the big diseases we have on this planet, and the next big step for us will be like CNS disorder. There's a lot to do here and many patients in suffering, so as we don't like unfairness, we're going to fight for that.
Sounds inspiring. Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Laurent Levy. Thank you.